Hi, my name is Wayne Martin. I'm a Palo Alto resident, and I oppose Measure M. I want to take a few minutes to explain to voters in Palo Alto and other interested parties why I am opposed. The first reason is that the City of Palo Alto has for many years now demonstrated very poor stewardship of our assets, the parks, the streets, sidewalks, and such. This became evident in 1998 when the first city manager's report on the infrastructure backlog problem was released. At that time, about $100 million in infrastructure backlog was identified. While some of this has been worked off in the last 10 years, the problem has actually grown to being now a $550 million project, for which the city manager has identified over the next 30 years, and at the same time indicated that there's no funding source for funding these projects. Additionally, the San Francisco Creek, which overflowed in 1998, also has in the last 10 years not really seen any meaningful work towards any kind of solution. The city has been involved in a JPA, or Joint Powers Authority, but that group has failed to actually come up with a project definition, scope the project, cost of the project, or found funding sources. It's my belief that the city should be putting money away in a reserve fund, since sooner or later someone's going to have to fund some fixes on the creek, and Palo Alto has a moral obligation to fund some of that work. Measure D itself presents us with a number of fiscal irresponsibilities. For instance, the maintenance the poor maintenance that's becoming one of the drivers for replacing those buildings is clearly a management decision that sits on the heads of the library and the director, the public works director, and the city manager. You can walk through these buildings and you can see evidences of maintenance that should have been applied years ago. One of the problems that I have put on my website is the fact that the sign illumination fixtures for Main and Mitchell Park have been broken for anywhere up to a year or more. With the fixtures broken, the lights are broken, and so the main signs at night are not illuminated. This is kind of an example of just how poorly the maintenance has been applied to these buildings. While the city found $1.3 million to award itself in bonuses, it could not find a few $1,000s, in fact in this case just a few $100s, to fix those signs. There are low-cost alternatives. In 2005, the KPA group of Oakland came up with a solution document which indicated that maybe $4 million would provide all of the work that you needed to bring the buildings up to seismic sufficiency, add air conditioning, and also to add creature comforts here and there throughout the buildings. This project was ignored. Additionally, we'd like to propose that maybe $5 to $7 million worth of expansion money be added to increase the footprint of Mitchell Park and to do some interior redesign and maybe expand the footprint of the Mitchell Park building, or excuse me, the rec building, just a little bit, and do some interior redesign, because some of those areas could be used more effectively than they are. Some of the expansion areas for the Measure N library are poorly thought through. For instance, there's room for coffee shops, program areas, and study areas. There really is no need for more coffee shops, or at least a city-owned coffee shop at Main and Mitchell. There are coffee shops up and down Middlefield. Most of them open very early in the morning, some as early as 5, others stay open as late as 10. It's difficult to believe that a coffee shop in a library is going to make much money when you have Pete's and Starbucks competing within a few blocks. So we feel that this was just simply an inappropriate thing to be putting into a library. The program areas, there's more than enough space at Mitchell and Cubberley to provide program areas. Mitchell Park Recreation Center is sitting right next door and is generally poorly used most of the year. The idea, for instance, at Maine of putting in seating for 100 when there's an auditorium for 180 only about 300 feet away makes absolutely no sense at all to us. Study areas, again, most kids are in school all the time. They are generally at home at night, and so the idea of putting in $1,000 a square foot study areas just doesn't make any sense. There are 17 schools, 5 of them within a mile of the Mitchell Park complex, and if they really need study areas, then they should be attending to that on the school district so that the kids don't actually have to move from their classrooms to a study area in a public library. These issues and others have been identified and written up in great detail on our website, www.paloaltans for Common Sense. There are videos that link back into to these library issues, emerging library technology, and as well as the financial issues that we feel people should be aware of before they go to the polls. This is Wayne Martin explaining his opposition to Measure In, and hope that you will visit our website. If you have any questions, you can contact me at wmartin46@yahoo.com, and please go to the polls and vote no on Measure In. Vote no on Measure N, November 4th.